Howdy, folks. John Clark here, along with my dear friend, coach, advisor, confidant. What else?
Court Jester.
Court jester, Bubba Sparks.
How you doing?
Who, by the way, might be recuperating still from yesterday when he went and helped coach a bunch of young athletes at a high school track meet. And those things can go on forever. So
yeah, they do. Yeah,
how was it?
We had a Wednesday. We had JV and freshmen. It was their first meet, and it's long, it's cold. You're out there for hours. You're shorthanded, so you help where you can. But the cool part was all the kids I had this summer. I have 5 kids that came out all summer, all fall, when everybody's doing other stuff. And I don't know why it didn't occur to me that would happen, but every one of them just had great performances and PRs better than they've ever done in their life, and all this excitement and everything. And I guess I was so busy with being busy that I forgot that, hey, these guys have been working a long time. Now they're getting some results. And then yesterday we had the varsity meet at Kingwood High School. It was the exact same thing. We had one of the little girls that jumped JV, jumped her first varsity meet and made the same height she made the other day, which is also a PR again. And then Katie won, our top girl. She won pretty easily.
All right.
So it was a fun day, busy.
Yeah, you volunteer for that. So why do you do it?
It's just kind of a give back thing. When we were growing up, my mom told me, the coaches and teachers don't make a lot of money. Let those people that make that money, but help them make their lives easier. So she said to me, she says, so many people have left facilities open for you to vault, left weight rooms unlocked, looked the other way when you weren't supposed to be out there. So anytime you do anything for the sport, you need to do it for free and do it as often as you can without condition. There's nothing worse than a fair weather volunteer.
Well, it's been about 2 years, and I think it's 2 years and 4 months since you started helping me.
Mm-hmm.
And why did you do that?
I just sensed that there was somebody in there that was looking to turn a page on something that would be, fun, challenging, and adventure, and would, it'd make you feel better about yourself. Yeah. I didn't think that you felt bad about yourself, but you looked like you were looking for something that, sink your hooks into, that you could, have an interest in and gain some momentum from.
Yeah.
And I like taking people from never doing the sport. I mean, for us, when you talk to somebody later in life and you talk about pole vaulting, says, "Oh, I used to do that in high school, or I did it such a time," or somebody will say, "I tried that once," or somebody will say, "I never tried that." So my goal has always been that no matter what that experience is, I want it to have been fun. Because me, this is 55 years pole vaulting. But there's other people that they'll jump maybe 6 months, maybe 3 months, maybe 3 days, and I want them to come away of having a good experience too.
Yeah.
So I want to take them and bring them and make sure it's the most fun possible.
Yeah, well, we've talked about it before. There's no way I would have done this without him. I actually started while you were still out in California.
Right.
I went and jumped a couple of times at a place that Bubba showed me or connected me with. But I made excuses. I only went twice during the summer, and I made excuses all the time to reasons why I couldn't go or didn't want to go. And that's what would have ended up happening if it hadn't been for you, because, as we started becoming more friends and things as we went every Sunday.
Right, for over a year.
Every Sunday for a solid year. I don't think we missed a day. Maybe once or twice for some reason.
I think maybe one, but that was it.
Yeah, but it got to the point where I couldn't let you down, even if I didn't want to go.
Yeah, I never knew that or felt that, but mine was the same way. I think that's why it's good to have partners and mentors, because the big driving force, whether you know it or not, is you're trying not to let the other person down. I was talking to Nancy about that yesterday, and about how I always train alone, because I don't want to. Like, I don't ever want to spot on lifting because I may not have somebody to spot. So, or I may not want to run with somebody because they may not show up. But in our thing, we went and we didn't miss, and that made it fun.
Yeah. Do you remember your earliest mentor, or maybe your most important mentor for not only sports, but?
I've had a few of them. My mom was a good guiding post on some of that stuff. She would just say, what you want to do is you want to look to somebody who's already done what you've done and done it at a very high level. So you could start off by trying to research them and read about them,
Mhm.
read about their journey, or the ones you can get to know. So I was pretty fortunate that Dave Roberts, who went on to become the world record holder, and he was also got third in the 1976 Olympics. He jumped in high school, and unlike today where a kid finishes their event and leaves, when the elite jumpers jump, everybody stays and watches. But back in those days, in high school, Dave Roberts was jumping like 15 feet, which is a big deal, and he was the best. So I wanted to learn from the best, so I stayed and I helped him. I'd catch his pole, catch his step. My brother would too. My mom would stay out. She'd video for him.
Yeah.
And we do all this. Everybody's gone, but us and the best vaulter in the whole meet, everybody's gone home. But we would stay there and do that. So it kind of got it to be it. And then when Dave went to Rice University, we would go to practice at Rice. Every day he had a jump day. And we would practice. He'd kind of coach us. And then when we finished, we would put up the bar for him, catch his step, and listen to him being coached. And he goes on to become the world record holder. But that's kind of how it's always been for me. There on the business side, it was similar. I was in business for a long time. I mean, I've been 33 years in healthcare now, but I spent 8 years on Wall Street. And my mentor on Wall Street represented companies to Wall Street for 45 years. He could get you in any place, and his brother at the time was president of CBS, the whole thing. I mean, he was a big guy. We made some money together in oil and gas, and when oil and gas was going away, he just said, "You need to stay here and do this with me." And so the trade-off was he would mentor me and teach me what a deal was and what it wasn't, and I would do grunt work for him.
Yeah.
And
Where do you think you'd be? Where do you think you'd be if you hadn't been hooked up with that guy?
That guy is a major factor in how I think and how I design things and how I operate. The lessons that you learn. And of course, I'm the whipping boy. I think I was 23, 24. He was 78.
No.
And hardcore guy from Boston. And but we just became really close and good friends. And so for 4 years, he was my mentor, and I worked beside him. The last 4 years we were together. We were equal partners in a company. But what happened that was really good out of that changed my life is he told me in 1987, he said, I don't know if you've seen the movie The Graduate with Dustin Hoffman, where they say the word of the future is plastics. In 1987, he said to me, 20 years from now, the baby boom is going to hit Medicare age, and there'll be the greatest demand for healthcare services in history. And frankly, doctors aren't known for their business acumen. So I would suggest you get in that area. So in 1987, I did that. In 2007, 2010, exactly what he said happened. So he advised me to do that, and I followed that. And 9 months later, I was the chairman of the board of a publicly traded physical therapy company. And then from there, I grew my own physical therapy company from one clinic to be very, very large.
Yeah.
Sold that out in 2001, and then since 2002, I've just helped doctors, hospitals, physician groups come to grips with revenue and value-based care. But he told me to go into that field. He said, "You're a young guy." I was 70 pounds heavier from overwork, overstress. He just said, "You need to go into that field. I don't want to see you die."
Yeah.
But he mentored me through, and it was tough love. I mean, Wall Street, if you're 15 minutes early, you're late. So he sent me to this meeting with this really big guy, and I got there like 10 or 12 till 8 o'clock, and I didn't know the rule. So the guy, I sat there all day long. All day long. And then at the end of the day, she said, "I'm sorry you were late." He's not going to be. I said, "Late?" She says, "It's 12 till 8. Is he even here? Does he get here at 8? It's just, "No, you're late. And so we'll see if we can squeeze you in." And it was, what the joke was the guy kept calling my friend, and they were laughing. "Is he still there? Is he still there?" And so that was kind of like a little test. And the next day, he told me to come back at 10. And he tried to see me, so I came back at 9. At about 10:30, he saw me, and that was kind of, but I got a lot of tough love from them because they're all older. But it was a mentor thing. I wanted to be that. And it's another thing a lot of people don't have the opportunity to do. I wasn't married. I didn't have a kid. I didn't have any desire to have either. And I knew it may have to be relocated. I knew that I may not have much money because, the more money you make, the less guarantees there are.
Yeah.
So I worked for free in a lot of cases. I told him, "I don't need any money. I just let me do the grunt work for you and help teach me what a deal is."
Yeah.
And he did. And I've gotten a lot of positions in life over being willing to do things for free that other people won't. But it puts me, it kind of made me skip the line. It was kind of weird. I'm 23, 24 in the early days, and I'm in an office with like a conference room with like 6 attorneys, these other guys, and I'm the guy in charge. I'm telling these guys, he just told me one time, he says, Doug, not Bug, says, Doug, get a hold of these attorneys. They work for you. You don't work for them. So, I'm in charge of the room. And so just when my kind of breakthrough day on that I discovered myself was I just blurted out, listen, anybody can identify a problem, give me a solution. And so I told the attorneys, don't tell me anything that I can't do without giving me 3 options that I can do.
Yeah.
And what was interesting was these guys, 40, 50, 60-year-old attorneys taking this from me. I'm trying to be respectful. The Stenbuck's watching me, my mentor's watching me. And when I said that to these attorneys, it was like I just freed them from captivity. All of a sudden, they didn't have to be inside the lines. They didn't have to follow a process.
Yeah.
They could actually think. We could create. And it became such a great collaboration at that point because they didn't feel constricted by, they've got to warn me about everything I can't do. They knew if they said it, they'd have 3 solutions, and that became fun for them.
Yeah.
And then they started going back and forth with judges. Well, couldn't we do this? Couldn't we do that?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of how the mentor thing taught me how to lead, as well as just go down the path. It taught me how to lead.
Well, it's one thing we've talked about is how I've met all these amazing people in pole vaulting, world champions, Olympic champions, all these very successful people in pole vaulting. But then on the other hand, they're also highly successful in everything else in life. Where does that come from?
It's just it's a discipline and an inner drive. I remember stupid little things like walking through the living room. My dad would say, how many times are you going to walk past that string on the floor before you pick it up? And it came down to, you see it needs to be done, get it done. So you kind of become accountable to that. And then, I was driving with Nancy the other day to someplace, and we went down, 290. And Don and me and Bill and his brother Nick, we'd get up every morning at 4 a.m. before school, and we'd run from 43rd down to Tacoma, where Del Mar Stadium was. That's 3.5 miles each way. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't built yet, it was all dirt.
Yeah.
And we did that every morning why did we do that? Well,
exactly.
Part of it was it was an adventure that we could do together. And the other part was that I've always believed, and my mom used to say, well, you get ahead of everybody else when they're not doing anything. So every time it's like the Pink Floyd song, another brick in the wall. What can I do today that nobody else is doing?
Yeah.
And so that builds this inner strength and inner mentality. It doesn't matter how small it is. It's just like I saw a guy the other day on a commercial, and he's saying, what I can tell you, the top CEOs and most successful people in the world, they start by making their bed. It starts with that initial accountability. Mm-hmm. And so, that's just, the mind's like a muscle. It grows, it works, it gets stronger. The more you use it, the more you challenge it. There's going to be days, I've got this tricep surgery coming up. There's going to be days I'm not going to feel like doing it, but I'm still going to go in, and I just don't care what level I do it at as long as I do it well. And I think that's the biggest reason people fail, like on the exercise thing. The problem is they get in there and they get started, they're sore, they're beat up, they don't like it. The first thing they do is they start in their minds, they start rewarding themselves already. Well, I did this and that, so I can eat this and that. But the reality is there's still calories in, calories out. I saw an article where a guy's talking about the pre-drink meal, the thing he drinks and the thing he does afterwards. He's got 1,700 calories and he hasn't even finished the gym, or he just finished the gym. It's just not a doable thing. So there's these rationalization trade-offs, and it's not, like I say, 3 letters in the word diet or die, and 3 letters in the word routine or rut. So you just have to be able to manage that. Set realistic expectations. Things don't. The person doesn't get over, like me in Wall Street, 70 pounds heavy. It doesn't get there overnight. It doesn't go away overnight. But it gets there on a consistent level of effort. And it doesn't matter what the level of effort is, as long as you keep showing up and you pay attention. Not being engaged in the exercise itself, or when I mean exercise, I mean physical and mental. Not being engaged in the exercise is the biggest reason people fail. And the reason they do that is they set a standard too high.
Right.
Like your body has this thing called an exercise set point, and it has a weight set point. So your weight, what you are today, that's your weight set point. So the second you start trying to, do things to like bump that up, then your body wants to start holding on to all the calories because, wow, this is a crisis. What is he doing to me? I'm going to need more food. In reality, it's just the opposite. So, 8 to 10, 12 weeks later, it lets go and you'll drop down. But the point that most people make is that this exercise set point, you've got to get the most you can get out of every level. What they'll do is they'll come in and they'll do things. Well, that's pretty good. I'm going to do this. Then I'm going to do this. Then I'm going to add this. Well, now it's a job. They'd have to quit their job to continue going.
Yeah.
But if they just got the most out of the very basic thing and just do that. Like when we went back to California, we had this big house, big hill by our house in California. And I said to Nancy, I said, your goal should just be to get to the top of that hill each day, which is brutal. I mean, but she'd do it every morning. It was like 10 minutes, but it was straight up. But it was 10 minutes. Doesn't matter how fast you go. I mean, stride length can be the length of your foot. And you can go as slow as you want to go. The thing is to complete it, and at the end of it, still not be out of breath.
Yeah.
And I think people just put themselves in a zone that they can't succeed because they make it too hard.
Now, what about if the thing is not exercise? What if it's someone's goal is something that's completely not related to sports or working out or?
It's the same thing. I mean, for me, to give an example, for me in 2017 when I won the World Championships in New Zealand, that's when you first contacted me. My goal that year was also to win an award for my business. I wanted to see if I could balance both of them. So I won that. I won the World Championships, and then our company got an award for top 10 innovation and technology companies in healthcare at the Smart Health Conference. And so I wanted to show that I could balance and go those parallel paths that were unrelated. It's no different than anything else. It's being organized in your mind, being motivated in your mind, and the only way you can do that is to have, like I say, you can't eat an elephant in one bite. You got to just take small bites and evaluate. Take small bites, evaluate. There's too many people that are paralysis by analysis before they ever start. Just the first, like your journey across Spain, 500 miles, starts with a single step.
Yeah.
Just make the step.
Now,
The next day, make the step.
Do you still, even today, have what you would consider mentors or people that
I
help
do.
motivate you and inspire you at all?
I do, and I'll tell you what's interesting about that mentality, because when you spend 8 years on Wall Street with the people I spent, it's pretty hard to find somebody that has. I mean, at my age, it's hard to find somebody that has more experience than I have in healthcare.
Right.
But other people have different perspectives from different angles that I can use. Like it's the same way I would say on pole vaulting. Like for instance, there's people my age that can bench press 500 pounds. There's people my age that can sprint flying 100 meters. And so I study what even though it seems unrelated, they're part of what I do, so I study what they do. I do the same thing here. I'm looking right now, I work with technology mentors, people who created programs for giant institutions. I've made them my partners. But in the process, I've learned about this. I've made myself the guinea pig. I go into our technology platform and I enter patient information, figure out these metrics and all this based on things I learned from them. So it's just like another arrow in the quiver. And so there's always, plus, the thing I love most about life is just, it doesn't matter what it is as long as you're interested in it. So, it could be a book, it could be reading about, any kind of thing. And those just kind of things, any kind of outside perspective you can get that helps look at the total picture helps. And I think it's also, like you and I, we both play guitar. I started playing guitar in 2010. I'm not good at it, not good for public consumption, but I did it because I'm like, well, what if something debilitating happens to me and I can't pole vault? Or, well, then I can still do something in the gym physical, but what would I do to occupy my mind? And so I thought that would be good for hand-eye coordination, be good for dexterity, be good for mental. And so I'm always looking at things that I have interest that I think may be applicable in something that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
They don't always have to tie together, but a lot of them do. So mentor-wise, and I'll tell you another thing. This is where this thing. This is and I'm not saying this in a bad or arrogant way, but your biggest goal is to surpass your mentor. Like I remember I had a kid that I started coaching when he was a 13-foot vaulter, and I just knew he could be good. Well, my best jump was 551, 18 feet 1 inch. So as soon as he got in that range, we went to a height 552 so he could surpass me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he did. He went on to jump 18, 10 and a half.
Uh-huh.
But he surpassed me. I've had a lot of business mentors that I surpassed. And I don't mean surpassed in any financial or superficial way, but I moved to another level of doing business than the one they're at. They're at the top of their field where they are, but I'm on this ladder path like this. I'm not on a straight path.
Yeah.
I need help from here and then here and then here to bring together the total that makes a company work. And so, but I get to that level and then I surpass where they are. And just like right now, where you are, you've gotten to the level that you're completely self-sufficient in what you've done. So right now, you are building your own perspectives in the way that you look at things in life. Like Chris Allison, for instance, at Lone Star Pole Vault, I was his coach. I mean, the trade-off was I'll help you with your kids and I'll coach you.
Yeah.
He was the worst guy in the world. He'd throw his poles, he'd get mad, he'd do this, he'd do that.
I can see that.
And, I mean, it was horrible. And he was miserable. And I said, this is not a fun sport for you. So I changed and I made him do all these different things. But at a certain point, I said, I'm not going to study it like I used to study it. I enjoy it, but I'm going to kind of be semi-retired as far as coaching and that stuff. And he took it to another level. I mean, he studied sports science. He did this. The teacher passed the master, and now he's the master, and I call him when I want information.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really what your goal is as a mentor, is to have somebody help bring somebody up to the level they're trying to be. And it's their own journey. They're going to figure out along the way where they want to be, but then it's going to change. I mean, I don't know of anybody in the world that can look at themselves today and say, just how I planned it.
Yeah.
And I have no clue how it
Yeah.
could happen.
Yeah, part of this journey, I've gotten my personal trainer certification because I wanted to help I wanted to help other people. What am I trying to say?
Yeah.
Help them,
Like
help what happened to me. I wanted to help them
Yeah.
in the same way. And one of my clients in particular was with me for a pretty long time last year. And I could see in the last few weeks that she really didn't need me anymore.
That's the best feeling in the world.
And I kind of knew it was coming to an end, which was I wasn't happy that our working together was coming to an end. But on the other hand, it was time.
That's actually what you're in business for. The problem, look, and this is nothing against chiropractors. I work with a lot of therapists, but they want to see you 3 times a week for the rest of their life. That's just not the real world.
Yeah.
That's a slam on a lot of way people look at personal trainers.
Yeah.
Your job is to teach them and grow them so that they don't need you.
Same thing what you were talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the fact that you went and got your license, that showed me that you had a real passion for how your life had changed and you wanted to apply that to other people.
Yeah.
That would be the first test I would look for if I'm looking for somebody to help me is, how did it change his life? How did he get there? How could I duplicate that? But wait a minute, he wants to help me get to a level, but then he wants me to be good enough I can do it on my own.
Yeah.
That's really that's the real test of humanity.
Well, yeah, and it's just changed everything. I mean, I've thanked you a million times for what you've done, and I just can't say it enough. And
I appreciate that.
I totally couldn't have done it without you. You always knew. I left every practice session of ours together feeling good about something that happened that day.
That's the goal.
I mean, I think it was the first practice session when you had me jump over a 4-foot bar.
Yep.
Which a 4-foot bar, you can almost run and jump over that just out in the front of your yard.
You think so?
You
think
know?
so? So you try to do it. It's hard.
And I thought, this is silly. But then I jumped over that 4-foot bar, and I was so excited. It was so cool.
Well, I mean, that's what it's about. It's about, baby steps. I mean, look at it Sandy Morris, Olympic silver medalist. She married a guy who's been to 2 Olympics, but he hasn't had a personal record in 7 years. He got one last year. He hadn't got one in 7 years, but guess what? He's still in 2 Olympics. He still goes to every world championship.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's bad. It's not like that's a failure. But in his mind, he's got to create a path of how do I overcome that? For us as older, it's the same thing kind of in business, is that we train for things like their fights, like a fighter trains for a fight. Like you got 3 to 4 months to get ready, and then you build a plan and you work for it. But that said, I've been on my lifting. I've been working since January of right after Reno last year, 2019. For me, I'm jumping in May in 2021 because that's how long it's going to take me to get to where I think I need to be to do well now. But you got to make the journey fun. I mean, I've said this before. In my whole life, I've walked out of 3 gym sessions, and every one of them was because I tried to lift too much weight. I just started with way too high.
Yeah.
I should have started something that was easy and manageable, and really controlled it. But the second that first one feels heavy, and the other thing that's hard for people that are new at it is to understand that the weight on the machine is only a benchmark to tell you where you are today. Because some days 50 pounds feels like 100, and sometimes 100 pounds feels like 50.
Yeah.
And you got to deal with the body that shows up that day. So you got to be engaged in the process.
Well, you mentioned something about 2021, the World Games that are coming up in Tokyo. One of your
That is it.
That's your big goal.
Yeah.
It's such a long way away. And that's what's hard for people sometimes is they give up. They quit too soon.
Yeah.
I think somebody said, don't quit before the magic happens.
And that's the biggest mistake people make is quitting before then. You just got to find a way to make it interesting and a way to make it fun. For me, there's always a better way to do your exercise. There's always I focus every single rep like it's an event by itself.
But I mean, it's that way for anything, right? It doesn't have to be for going to the gym.
Yeah, I mean, some people can operate off to-do lists. I look at things in chronological order, like business stuff. I don't take notes. I don't take a big briefcase. I don't take anything to a meeting with me. I don't ever write anything down. And the way I'm able to remember is because what I learned in my mentor in New York is that everything has a chronological order of progression of where you are. And I just remember where we are on each one of them from the last conversation. But that's kind of the other thing we talked about once before was that, Tony Robbins says a plane on the way to Hawaii is off course 99% of the time, but it gets there because of some thousands of small adjustments. And that's why I look at my day. I wake up, and Nancy and I were talking about this too a couple of weeks ago about, my top 10 list, half of them may not even be on that list by 9 o'clock, something more important to come up. You just got to be able to manage and roll with that and just still get things done. But you can't do it all at one time. Just like I say on weight, it didn't 70 pounds for me. It didn't get there overnight. It's not going away overnight. So, wow.
Yeah.
May 2021, I ought to be able to be in pretty good shape by then as long as I'm accountable, keep showing up every day. And that's the battle, is showing up, getting in there and start, and then the rest of it will take on a life itself. You get lost. You see people. I've seen in the last year, I saw some very heavy, very out of shape people come into the gym. And the stuff that they did in the gym was when I say light, I mean, it was like a light treadmill, it was light lifting, it was light. But at the end of the year, they totally looked completely different. Mm-hmm. And they were a complete different person. They felt different, they looked different, and all they did was show up every day. It's funny, when I did this stress test, apparently for my surgery and my pre-op, I've got an abnormal EKG. So I had to go over and do a nuclear stress test where they put dye in your heart and you have to run everything. And so you know how you look on TV and the thing's beeping up like this?
Yeah.
I've got something to go down.
Wow.
And it's called athlete's heart because I've trained my whole life. My heart's slightly enlarged like a muscle, but it does that. And so I had to do this test. And so twice during the test, they asked me, "Are you having chest pains? Are you having chest pains right now?" I'm like, "No." And then he says, "Are you short of breath right now?" I'm like, "No." And he says, "Because they're trying to get me to 130 beats, which is like nothing." But the thing is, the big secret that I tell people, very few people, is that I don't work hard. I just work. I don't want to do anything that feels hard because that's what makes you go away and not do it.
Yeah.
But what happens is if you do a lot that doesn't feel hard, it'll continue to grow up. And even though you don't think it's hard, it actually is hard. So I don't train to be out of breath. You burn your most fat just the friendly side of being out of breath. So I try to stay there. Mm-hmm. I try to make sure I'm recovered before I do my set. I try to make sure it's a weight I can handle. So I'm never challenged with something that I can't do and do pretty easily.
Yeah. And
then that just grows on itself. And people are unwilling to do that. It's like, they want to see how quick they can get to a heavy weight. But, my orthopedic surgeon in California used to say is that, he says, "Bubba, you're from Texas. Let's just say you grew up and you got a new baby calf out there. You're going to go out there in the barnyard every day and you're going to lift that calf. Someday you're not going to be able to pick it up anymore. So why are you in a hurry to find the edge of your injury or the edge of your ability? Why don't you just get the most out of every level you have? Why don't you just pick that calf up 10 times today, and maybe in a month you can pick him up 3 times and just leave it at that, then find a new calf. Why do you want to find the edge of your ability?"
Well, that's the thing about people that, and I'm totally guilty of it myself. When you want to do something, you got a big goal or a big dream that you want to do something, but you're not willing to really do the work.
That's the big problem.
What do you think I asked a friend of mine this one time about the fear of failure versus the fear of success. I said, which one of those do you think is true? Which one, that really prevents people from reaching their goals? Fear of failure or fear of success? He said neither one. Yeah. He said he thinks it's fear of effort.
I like that. I've not heard that before, but I like it. I mean, Tony Robbins talks about temperature in a room, and he's saying, it's in there cold. He says, like your business. It's in there, it's cold because you don't have much business. So you start scrambling or moving around to warm yourself up. Then you get to a certain level and it's like, oh, voice is starting to get hot. I think I'm just going to sit down and rest. And there's not ever a continuous effort. And one of the things he says, which I really believe a lot, is he said, people do far more to avoid pain than they will to gain pleasure.
Yeah.
And the fear of success, I mean, I said that to Katie, my girl Walter, yesterday on the runway. She's been doing everything right. It hasn't quite clicked. It's just about to start clicking. And I said, I walked down to her at the end of the runway and says, don't be afraid of success.
Did you?
Yeah. Make this happen. You've done the work. You show her. You've been doing this hardcore now for 9 months. Don't be afraid of success. Expect it. And she went down there and she made the jump and it went good and it kind of turned around. And fear of failure, I see less. Fear of failure is something that happens in the beginning, but fear of effort is a big deal. You just have to be accountable. I mean, but you know, like I say to people, if you're impatient, that means you have no confidence in your plan or your goals. You need to reassess that. But then on the same time, that plan makes 1,000 small adjustments. So I'll write down what I think I'm going to do for a plan. It'll change 15, 20 times. I don't care because it makes me feel more empowered because I'm in charge of it. But I don't do it to make it easier. I do it to make it make more sense. Like, you know, you hear about politicians flip-flopping. Well, you know, one of the things I heard famously said, and I won't say who said it because I don't want to alienate any party, but he said, no, I'm not flip-flopping. I just have more and better information than I had when I thought that before. And so it's the same thing on this path to your journey, because there is no defined path to success or anything else. It's just your journey. And so to me, I want to make my journey as interesting as I can and as fun and enriching as I can. And the best way to do that is set up a whole series of goals I know I can accomplish. So I know I can go to the gym with my arm in a sling, and I know I can lift 5 pounds with this arm. I know I can sit down and I can do a leg press with a less weight. And so that's a challenge to me. How am I going to operate until I get these 20 staples out of here? How am I going to, well, I've already been shaving with one hand. I mean, that may sound stupid, but kind of fun. So it's a challenge. I've already practiced. How can I get out of bed with one arm like this?
Yeah.
I mean, so that may sound stupid, but it's actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
So when you start setting up your journey with fun things that aren't hard, you know, how can you fail? The only way you can fail is what you said, fear of effort. Never heard that, but I love that.
What do you say to people who, you know, have whatever their dream is? You know, if their dream is to write a book or, you know, I don't know, buy a house, save up $1 million, retire, just big dreams that people have that they say, you know, because a lot of people say, man, I wish I could, but then they never do it.
Yeah.
What are the, would you say are the most important things to achieve?
Take action today and every day, no matter how small, keep moving forward. Because, I mean, you know how it is when you walk across Spain. I mean, we've ridden across Catalina Island for, you know, many times, and it's just like, it's just stupidly hard. It's so steep. And so you're literally like walking on your pedals with just your body weight. But then you wind up and you haven't been gone 5 minutes and you're like way above the ocean in the town of Catalina because you've just made these small, tiny steps. And Nancy, when she first started running, she hasn't been a runner, and part of it was her knees. She started off, her running stride was no longer than half of her foot. We call it trudging. So she would just go like this.
Yeah.
And so it just started off as trudging. Next thing you know, literally, I mean, maybe 4 months later, she's running, you know, 2 miles.
You always say, just every day put another brick in the wall.
Absolutely. Right? Every day, just another brick in the wall.
Just one thing.
There's something you can do. I'm gonna Google this about this, and I'm gonna see what my next step is. But you know, the problem is reading is and planning action is different than taking action. You got to take action. And one thing you'll find out that I find interesting from my Wall Street career as well as in my career now is that more successful people are, the more willing they are to share that, because they understand and they know that most people don't know everything that they know, and most people don't do it. So it's a combination of, wow, that guy is interested in what I know, and the other part is, wow, I really know a lot about this. I bet I could help that person.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the bigger things is going to people who are far better than you, know far more than you. Like when we used to have legal challenges, and I don't mean legal challenges like legal, when we're building a program for Wall Street or for a business, we're building a plan and it has a legal challenge like a regulatory challenge or something like that. First thing I do is I look for the biggest company out there that faces the same challenge. And my whole premise is always, there's somebody bigger and better than me that's got this problem a whole lot worse than me. I want to see how they fixed it.
Yeah.
And that people can do that in daily life. I mean, I still, I started lifting when I was 10 years old, and I'm 66 now, and I enjoy the process because I know I can change anything I want to change when I want to change it. I can be in the middle of a workout and change something just because that doesn't feel right today. I think I'm going to do this. It empowers you, but the key is the action, taking action. I mean, still every day, Nancy and I make the bed. It's just part of the first step toward
I hate
counting.
making the bed.
Well, but that's why you should do it. I hate lifting legs. That's why it's my first thing of the week.
So, it was kind of it was a fluke that we connected and became friends. You became my mentor, coach, and everything. And it was probably kind of a fluke that you met that first guy on Wall Street.
It was a fluke, but it was interesting how it happened. It was a real weird thing. I was helping a guy in L.A. called Bill Sharmat. He'd raised over $1 billion in movies, and he asked me to organize his business. I mean, he had a pre-Oscar party at his house with Barbra Streisand, Sylvester Stallone, and all these other big people at his house. But he asked me, he says, I need you to spend 4 weeks organizing my business. I have so much going on, and I don't know where everything is. And I'm not going to pay you, but there'll be a reward. So Monday through Thursday, I went to Hollywood, and I stayed at his house for, I want to say about 6 or 8 weeks. And I rearranged how he did everything and how he did this and what his flow was and how that'd be. And the trade-off was he introduced me to this guy in New York, Jerry Stenbuck. He was his partner. And Jerry Stenbuck, as I said, represented companies Wall Street for 45 years. So we did some oil and gas financing deals together. So we'd made money together at that point. And so at that point, then I said, well, we're not doing anything in oil and gas. There's nices. He says, it doesn't matter. Marbles, oil wells, it doesn't matter. Business. They all have the same components. You're good at it. Why don't you hang up here and work with me? And so that's what I did. I just said, let me.
Yeah.
We were sitting at a meeting of a bunch of guys, and he says, if all you smart-ass young guys would quit thinking you know so much and maybe talk to one of us that do, then maybe you'd learn something. I called him, offered to ask him to dinner. I said, I'm your guy. I'm the stupid young guy that's going to listen. I won't charge you anything. I'll do this, and that's what I did. But people in high places you perceive to be in high places because you think you're below them, those are the people that are most willing to be helpful. But
you took action that resulted in that. I mean, the mentor's not going to come knocking on your front door.
No, he's just not even going to return my call. He's not going to have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
So you just, it's like they say, you under promise and over deliver. In those cases, I over promised and over delivered. Because, it's like elite athletes. I've coached elite athletes for a lot of times. I've been an Olympic coach, been a world champion. What I can tell you is that at that level, everybody works hard and smart. It's what's between your ears. It's the mental toughness. And that's the neat thing about this. Is the reason people don't do it, they're just not in the habit of taking action. But your mind is like a muscle. The more you use it, the more you win the battle against you, the easier it is for you to keep gaining success. To give an example, on a physical level, I worked with a guy, Herman Falsetti. He was he was a cardiologist. He was head of the Olympic cycling program. He had a theory that bikers rode too hard. And I know it sounds completely stupid, but Olympic cyclists, these world cyclists, they rode too hard. He thought that if they could stay just the friendly side of being out of breath, that they would improve. And the premise proved correct.
That way you learned that?
Yeah. So the premise proved correct. Once the wall of pain hits the oxygen debt, here's the wall, here's the pain. The next time you rest and come back like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you come up, the wall's closer. And then you back off again, the wall's closer. Then the wall's closer. But if you'll stay just on the edge of where you can breathe and still have a conversation but not too comfortable, the wall starts to move out.
Yeah.
So his cyclists in a 6-month period improved more than they had in 3 years from that premise. It's the same thing on work. I want to go up and I want to get this done. Because you can't do it all at one time. I think a lot of people self-sabotage because they really believe they have to do everything on their list. But remember, by 9 o'clock, half those things may not be that important. They're not on your list anymore. Doesn't mean you have to get them done, but you can't get it done today.
Yeah.
I think the biggest reason people fail to succeed, and I mean succeed in their own minds of where they go, is they have the wrong vision. They have unrealistic goals and unrealistic path to the goals. They have to understand there's one step at a time, and that's not only okay, that's enjoyable. I mean, you got to enjoy it.
Yeah. What would you say is the biggest, I don't know what I'm trying to to say here. People give up too soon, I think. Maybe I already said that.
No, it's easy to give up. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I think of giving up. And this is the worst time. The worst time, of course, it's the middle of the night and you're awake for a minute or something. And
yeah, and you kind of told me this one time. I was kind of surprised that sometimes you have to just go, and you use some colorful language when you said it, but you have to stand up and go, F you.
Right.
No.
Right.
To those negative
I'm
thoughts.
gonna do this. I control this. I'm gonna make this happen. But that truth comes from, I read one time on a long article, a lot of statistics about the top, they interviewed 100 of the Fortune 500 CEOs. Their biggest fear was that they're going to be found out that they weren't as good as everybody thinks they are. All of them think that. And so as a result, you're always trying to move forward.
It's amazing.
But see, what I'm saying is that the perception is that it's work. It's not work. It's showing up and it's diligent. It doesn't matter how hard you work, that you just do the good job. I can tell you right now, I don't ever do anything in the gym that I consider to be hard. It's something I can complete. It's something I know I can complete. And the second I have something in there I can't complete, in my mind, it becomes unsustainable. And so I'm like, is this sustainable? Could I really lift at that level? Or no. Well, then don't do it.
Well, that's what I've told people, when they're working out, for instance. The key is consistency.
Showing up.
You have to be consistent.
Half the battle showing up.
You can't just work out for a few months and then,
Once it becomes a lifestyle, it's a different thing, because you just gain this mental and physical wellness. You gain this inner strength that says, I can do anything as long as I approach it the right way and I take the steps that are manageable.
And that's pretty much the same way with anything
No
else.
matter what you do in life. But you made the comment earlier about how many of these pole vaulters are really successful.
Yeah, it's
incredible.
incredible.
But it requires the same things. It requires persistence. It requires patience. It requires that you remain dedicated to what you're trying to accomplish. But again, it doesn't have to. That is, I'll say it again, that's the biggest thing everybody has. They have unrealistic goals and an unrealistic expectation of the path to those goals. It doesn't have to be hard. It shouldn't be hard.
So they set themselves up in the beginning.
Yeah, if you can't look forward to walking in that door every day, you're doing it wrong. You're trying to do something too hard. You're trying to do too much. My thing is, get in there for 10 minutes or walk around your block. I mean, the reason I like the gym is because it's controlled environment for weather. I mean, Texas doesn't have the greatest weather, but even California, I spend a lot of time in the gym. And it's just that, I mean, for me, my lift part, and I'm at a really high level right now, my lift part's no longer than 45 minutes, but then I spend 25 minutes stretching, which feels like a reward. And if I'm on like a life cycle or something like that, I'm at a level that I'm the friendly side of being out of breath. It's not hard. If I'm lifting a weight, I'm lifting for perfect form. I don't care what the weight is.
Yeah.
I only move the weight up when I feel guilty about lifting that little of a weight.
No.
I mean, when it feels too easy, then I'll move up a little, but I don't ever move over because my goal is to get to that. You know why? Because I'll look at that rack and maybe say I'm on the 30s. There's all the way down to 120. I know I'd never get to 120. So why would I rush to myself to get to the dead end and challenge myself in a way that would make me feel like a failure? The more you can get out of each step, the more successful you'll have further steps.
Yeah. Well, like for pole vaulting, for example, which has just been sort of the catalyst for everything else that's changed in my life.
It gave you a reason to work out.
2 years.
Just like me, it gave you a reason
to work out. Gave me a reason to work out. Gave me a reason to quit drinking all the time.
Yeah, I went through the same thing.
I told you that during the first 6 months we were together, probably the first 6 months we were together, I was still, when you would drop me off after pole vault practice, my first stop was at 7-Eleven.
Yeah.
But, and I told my wife one time, I said, I got to do something because I don't think there's too many fat, drunken pole vaulters. Yeah. And, I finally, I got it together, but
yeah,
pole vaulting was just the catalyst and to the whole thing. But, if I hadn't, since I've met you and through you, I've met all these other people who have helped me out also.
Right.
But it took meeting you first. I mean, if I hadn't met you, it would have never happened.
Right.
So, that's the hard part sometimes is I don't know anybody that can help me do that.
Yeah. Just start. I mean, look, I'll tell you, the thing that gave me the most perspective about life, especially being older, was in 2001, we had the National Senior Games in Houston. And so everybody came to Houston, and we all went down to the big George R. Brown convention. We all picked up our packages. All our friends came to town and all that stuff. But when we went to pick up our package, I went in the wrong room first. Because, you know, there's giant rooms and all this. The first room I went into was the National Square Dance Convention. And then I went, and then I went down to and I went past the next one was the National Quilting Convention.
Oh my God.
And the first thing I said was, those people are no less passionate about what they're doing than what we're doing. Find something you're passionate about, or you could be passionate about.
Yeah.
Or find 3 or 4 things you like to do and start exploring that path. Because, I mean, that's, to me, was the whole thing. Like, you know, I had about a 2-year drinking issue when I tore my Achilles, and I couldn't, I didn't realize at the time what it was, but, you know, I was trying to quell the anxiety from not being able to work out. But as we got through that progress, the first thing I decided to do, you know, mine was going to be, you know, God, work, work out, kids, you know, give something back. And I would just roll the dice, and whichever number it was, I would do things in different orders and all this stuff. But I wanted to have a parallel path of progress in my life and life growth. And so I would try to move forward on each of those paths every day to do something toward it, whether it be the workout, whether it be help the kids, whether it be like a Bible study, you know, personal Bible study or something like that. I want you to be advancing on all those fronts each day.
Yeah.
So it's not unusual to find multiple things that you're interested in. It doesn't have to be one thing. But, you know, also there's groups. I mean, just in this neighborhood, there's a walking club for older people.
Yeah.
And there's anything you want to do. But, you know, resistance training is obviously the best way. American Heart Association says that's your salary. Cardiovascular is your bonus. That's actually where you'll see that, you know, what I like to say to people who do a combination of the two, which is the best, is that in 30 days you'll feel different. In 90 days you'll look different to you. In a year you'll look different to everybody else.
Yeah, well, you mentioned quilting. What was it? Quilting and
National
square dance.
Quilting Convention, National Square Dance.
Yeah, it could be.
It
It
doesn't
could be
matter what
anything.
It doesn't matter what.
And you mentioned the senior games that year. When I went to my first senior games, it was in Albuquerque last year.
Right.
And the men's pole vaulting was over, and the women's was on the next day. And I went out there to take some pictures and watch some of our friends jump. And I heard this commotion. I think I talked about it in the book. I heard this commotion, and I look over, and people are all lined up around the outside of the track, watching this woman out in the middle of the track getting ready. Blah blah blah. I asked some questions about what was going on. It was a 97-year-old lady out there running a 200-meter sprint,
right,
all by herself.
Yeah.
And it just, you know, the guy had the starting pistol and everything, and she's all getting ready.
Yeah.
Boom, and she takes off, and she's moving at a pace that you would expect from a 100-year-old person. But she is serious as an Olympic runner.
of course. Yes.
She is focused, and I almost started crying.
Yeah.
It just touched my heart.
Well,
It's never too late.
it's never too late.
It's never too late. That's our whole message.
That's and also, you know, everything's a lifetime sport. Look, I mean, when we were growing up, I remember my dad was a real fast runner. He played football and stuff with us in the front yard. And I remember one time after we were playing, we're sitting there. Don, you know, said something. My dad said, "Doug, boy, you're putting on a gut there. You better." He's just kind of kidding him.
Oh, you said that to your dad?
Yeah, just kind of kidding him. And my dad says, "Well, you guys wait till you're 40. I went, "Nope, not going to happen." He said, "Well, you just wait and see you're 40. Nope, not going to happen.
Yeah.
But just because the lifestyle is more fun. I mean, there's a book out there that I would recommend reading after reading John's. It's called Fit After 50, and it talks, and basically, it's an 86-year-old guy speaking with a 50-year-old doctor, and they're talking about the path of life and fitness and exercise, and it's really just about getting active consistently. But what he said was that the rule is you can either spend, he says, typically people who are fit spend the last 3 to 6 months of their life, you know, in distress or dying, and everybody else spends the last 30 years of their life. My mom spent the last 30 years of her life dying, and my dad went in 4 months.
Yeah.
And it's a big difference. Nancy's mom went like 2 months, I think, or 3 months. She was 92. She was still traveling with us in their 90s. You know, so it's all what you make of it. But it just we don't think the way that our parents did.
Yeah.
We expect ourselves to be active. It doesn't matter what level it is. I mean, that's another big misconception, I think, and I see that in gyms, that people think because they're heavy they won't be accepted, and it's just no different than you being accepted pole vaulting. You had never pole vaulted, now everybody knows who you are.
Yeah.
It's just because you got a story and you're out there. Everybody remembers what it feels like to be at the beginning and start. But that's, I mean, that behavior is encouraged, applauded.
Yeah, it's like you just said though. When 2.5 years ago, I was just pretty much sitting on the couch every day,
Yeah.
with no hope for 60 years old. I thought things were pretty much over, and now it's like I asked you something about. You said that you always have a top 10 things to do list.
Right.
And that's, you want to have a top, or even a urgent things to do or something like that.
Right.
And you want to have a top 10 list. When you die, you still want to have a top 10 list.
I want to have deals on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I will. And Nancy
after
said,
you told me that, I got home that day and I wrote out my top 10 list.
and the thing is that another thing people don't understand, it's going to change. I mean, what you think you want to do today in your exercise, it could completely morph or evolve into something else. It may turn out you like long distance cycling.
And it probably will once you get started.
And it just doesn't matter. That's the liberating part about it. Is as long as you're actively engaging, then you'll find a path. And there's a lot of clubs. I mean, the thing I like about our age and our generation is that there's a lot of people trying things for the first time. Some of these masters athletes that we see at the National Senior Games, like I know one guy didn't start jumping pole vaulting until he's 70. And he's Don Isaac. He didn't start jumping. I think he was 68 when he started jumping.
I think so, 66 or
yeah,
something.
now he's got like
that.
every world record. But it just doesn't matter.
You just got to find something that you love and get started.
Find a place you could start.
And it might go off into different directions.
Well, like my anatomy and physiology professor used to tell me in college, no matter what it is you want to do in sport, it's easier if you're stronger and faster. So I just always go on base training from that, and then I'll pick up the other things I want to do.
Yeah. It's like somebody, since this book, some people have read the book now, and new friends that I've made, and I've showed it to them. And like one girl in particular, she said, "Oh, you're inspiring me now. I want to write a book." And I said,
"Good.
Well, do it.
Yeah.
Go ahead."
Well, I wrote a thing this week. That's funny you should say that, because I wrote a thing this week. My mom, when I used to look, my dad was a great teacher, and he was, at Oak Status Club, he was our coach and stuff. And, my mom also coached softball there. So they've always been really active in our lives. They're both passed now, of course, but I would tell my mom, I said, Mom, next year, next semester, next season, I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to work on this because, man, if I do that, I think I can do this. And her response, this happened like 3 or 4 times. And her response was, that sounds like a great idea. Why don't you start that today?
Yeah.
And so I started thinking that way. And so since that time, I'm like, if it's such a good idea, and I kind of challenged her on it first. I said, well, what do you mean? I mean, I want to do that next year. She says, why would you wait? That makes so much sense. It sounds like that would help you like right away. Why don't you just start right now?
Yeah.
And literally, I left. I put down I got up from the chair. I got my stuff, and I went out and I did it.
Well, we were 2 of my friends from high school. They were in my grade, so they were much younger than you.
Yeah. Much younger? I keep remembering, Bill's 2 years younger, Don's 2 years younger, so you guys weren't that far off.
So we were down in Galveston for a boys' weekend
Right.
A couple of years ago, and talking about being happy and stuff. At the time, I wasn't a very happy person. And this guy, one of the guys named Joe, he's a keyboard player.
Uh-huh.
So my other friend Bobby used the analogy of a keyboard with 88 keys. I guess piano's got 88 keys.
Sounds right to me.
I think so. So he used the analogy of a keyboard with 88 keys as 88 years of a life expectancy. And we were all in our late 50s at that point.
Yeah.
Somewhere between 55 and 60. So he said, here's the keyboard, here's your life. You're about right here right now.
Right.
How long are you going to wait?
Yeah. Right.
How long are you going to wait to be happy?
Right.
So, the time starts now.
Right.
And he told me once, and I have it on an index card on the bathroom mirror. Why wait? ?
And it's just no reason to. I mean, it's just. I'm sorry to take the mystery out of it. It's just not as hard as you think it is, or everybody else tries to make you think it. It's just not. Just show up and do something. Do it within the range that you're comfortable. If you do that, you'll look forward to going again. Then you'll look forward to going again. I know when we first got back to California, Nancy found a friend that she met through some volunteer work. She decided to do some volunteer work at the Ocean Institute to meet other local people she could do stuff with. She started going down to Dana Point Harbor and walking the dogs. Well, I mean, literally 4 or 5 months later, they're doing 8 miles around the harbor
Yeah,
with
like,
the dogs. I mean, it just took off, but it started off with just, I'm just going to go walk around the harbor.
and you always talk about momentum.
Yeah, momentum.
Momentum builds, right?
It's everything. I just tell kids, it's like the kid in the backyard, like when we were kids and we're on that swing and our feet don't try to touch the ground and we're doing it and wiggling everything we can to like get it moving at all. That's what a business is, and that's what a workout program is, or anything you're trying to do. And so that's like the sticking points on the bottom. But the more momentum you get, you're still going to have setbacks, but that's still the point at the bottom. But now you're swinging through it. And then the more momentum you get, the less time you're at that spot where there's a stick.
Yeah.
And that's really the way to look at it, because it's really not that hard. You just have to show up every day and do something within your ability. Like for me, I try to stay within 70 to 80% of what I think I can do. So if I think I can lift 100 pounds 10 times, I'm only going to try 70. Or maybe if I felt really good, I might try 80 pounds. But if I know I can do 110 times, I'm never going to do it. Because if I do that, same thing as the guy with the bike riding, the range will just keep moving up without me even trying.
Yeah.
Like I say, the only reason I move weights up is because I feel guilty lifting something that's too easy.
You know, one thing I just thought of, I'm the kind of person that when I start to do something, I want to know all the way until the end. I want to know how it's going to turn out before I ever start to make sure it's going to turn out right.
Yeah.
You know, instead of just taking the first few steps
Right.
and just trusting the process, I want to know, is this going to work or not?
Right.
Or what's going to happen way down here? Who knows what's going to happen way down here?
Well, for a good example is for me, in May of 2021, I'm going to be pole vaulting in Japan. That doesn't mean I'm not going to have any benchmark checks along the way to reevaluate and change things and adjust things if it's not working.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the same thing. I mean, it's just got to be fun. If it can't be fun, and then, you know, I know this is kind of weird, but I wear headphones to the gym so I don't talk to people. Because I really want to, because it's too easy to get off of what you're doing and then not do it and then walk out. But, you know, I'll see people that are coming or going, or they're starting or they're just finishing, and we'll have a conversation or something. And sometimes I'll see somebody doing something I'm curious about, or I see a guy that's always doing just giant big guy. He's got this little 2.5 pound weight, and he's doing these different things on his shoulders. And so I had asked him about that because I was starting to have a little shoulder pain. So I'll ask people in the gym when they're doing something about why they're doing it that way.
Yeah, I like to do that too.
And that really helps me kind of engage further. Plus now I've got, you know, another person to kind of nod and wave to. So I've probably got 6 or 7 people in the gym now that I know on that basis, where, you know, we have a relationship and that we've had conversations like this. But that kind of gives you another stickiness in the gym too. It's like cheers, you know, everybody wants to go to a place they know your name.
Yeah.
Well, the gym can be that as well without making it all social.
Yeah. All right, man. What else?
Well, it's just, I mean, the thing I like about it, you know, when I have pole vaulters and I have somebody new, I would send them to you because you have the perspective of the new person. In other words, you just learned how to vault. It doesn't matter if it's from me or anybody else. You just learned how. So you'll relate better to that person because hey, you know, when you do this, it's going to feel like this because it's real new to you. It's the same thing on you in the way that you're doing your mentoring and personal training, is that nobody knows it better than somebody who just went through it. Yeah. And somebody that's passionate about it because they went through it. Because the hardest thing I see for people is, again, they think it's too hard, it's too much effort. They don't realize it's not. And also the big thing, they don't know where to start. They don't know how to start. They don't know what to do. What am I doing? My very first day, what am I doing? You know, those are things based on, you know, your interest. So what I like about, if you look at it from the perspective of a personal trainer, the personal trainer is going to work with you for a certain amount of deal. Then, other than the initial teaching you how to do the exercise, there's a lot of clipboard holding. Doesn't mean there wasn't any knowledge in putting the program together, but there's not really a need for the trainer after a certain point. And if you're doing your job, there should be. I mean, there should be a graduation. Yeah. And so you're the best equipped for that because of that. But you can also tell them from the mental and the emotional perspective of how that's changed your view and your perspective, because that's as important as the physical activity. Yeah. Okay, so now I'm in the gym and I do this, but I'm still miserable. Why?
Right.
Well, you kind of went through the same thing.
Oh yeah.
So it's easier for a person in your position that's new to it to explain it than somebody. I mean, I can explain it, but I just think the perspective of somebody that's just been through it is more important, and that's why I think when I heard you getting your personal training thing, I knew you took this serious as a passion. It wasn't a matter of, I mean, look, you're a great teacher, you've had a great career, but it's something you've got a passion for helping other people achieve what you've been able to achieve, whatever their interest or field is.
Yeah, I just hate to see people in the same shape I was in,
Stuck.
and not know that there's a way out. You know,
Stuck.
And all it is making a decision and doing the work.
Yeah, and that's the thing I try to say is the work's not that hard.
Yeah.
It's consistent.
All right. Well, thanks, man.
Yep. Good.
All right.
As always.